Welcome back, everybody. My name is Steve Smith. I'm the editor of PHC News Magazine, and we're coming to you live from the ASPE Convention, where we're doing a series of interviews with executives from the plumbing and heating industry. And my next guest is Tom Lentine. Tom is the Vice President of Sales for Vice President of Holby Valve. Right. Well, Tom, welcome. Thanks for coming.
You, Steve.
Now, Holby Valve, very well-known name. Been around 92 years, so close to a century. You guys are doing something right. What's the secret?
Well, it's really all about the product, Steve.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're blessed in that our valve has been around for so long, and we really have generations of plumbers that come to shows like this and tell us all about how many valves they've installed over the years. And it's just a very simple valve that's easy to service and easy to operate, and the guys love it. So I have a section valve I brought to the show. I'd like to show you.
Let's take a look.
Why it's so simple. This is our 1 1/4 valve. Just feel the weight of that. It's a piece of equipment.
It's heavy.
We go up to 4 inch, so this is a baby.
Okay.
But there's only 3 internal parts. So when you tell a plumber he's got to service the valve, you know, some of our competitors have 60 parts on their parts list. So this is the bonnet, and this is how we set the temperature on with this adjusting screw. So if you remove this, and there's 3 internal parts. This is a piston, spring, and this is the thermostat. It's a long thermal element. That's why our valves always have this long pipe nipple on it. And the thermostats are made in our facility in Newark, New Jersey. It's all made in the United States. It's filled with an alcohol solution that's sealed at a specific temperature. And as the valve increase, the thermostat senses an increase in temperature, the alcohol expands and this pin extends further. So when it's assembled, the pin is actually bottomed out in this adjusting screw. It's a countersunk. So as it extends, the pin doesn't move, the shell goes deeper into the valve, and it pulls the piston. You can see the hot port there. As it heats up, it pulls the piston to close more of the hot, open more of the cold. And then it's just that little bit of movement that you can go from full hot to full cold. And it's that simple.
Simple, right. So
we like to say that, even most people can count to 3, and there's only 3 internal parts.
Right.
And the beauty is, we've never really changed the design. We changed the material in 2014 for the low lead, but the same parts that we sell today fit in our original valves from the 1960s or older. So, picture's worth 1,000 words. I thought I'd bring that up.
So the valves you shipped in the 60s, I guess, are the same as you sell today in a way. I mean, the materials have changed because of codes and
dimensions and design is all the exact same.
Yeah. So now you've got some old valves that have been in place for a long time. How about a good old valve story for us?
Well, I had a call this week from Hawaii. There's a sprout farmer out there, and sprouts have to be grown at a certain temperature. Not grown, but watered at a certain temperature. So he said it's a pretty old valve. All of our valves have serial numbers on them. We know exactly when each one was sold. So I looked it up, and it's 36 years old. And he said we've never touched it before. But after 36 years, the thermostat's worn out, and we shipped them a new thermostat this week. We've got valves that have been in over 50 years. So they're just so serviceable. People just maintain it by replacing the parts. We've got a quick story. I was called out to a job site in New York City, Battery Park City, near the ground zero there. And the engineers had just changed the boiler plant out, put in 6 high efficiency boilers, hot water heaters. And they were having trouble with the valves, so they called me down. And I looked at the installation, and while we're waiting for the temperatures to come back up, because they'd lower the temperatures, they're telling me the history of the building. And in the old days, there were 2 big boilers and 2 big storage tanks. And then they lasted about 15, 20 years, and they put in a couple other boilers. And now this was the 3rd set of hot water heaters. So we looked at our valve, checked the serial number. It was 35 years old.
Wow.
It was the original valve. We had outlasted 2 boiler plants.
Wow.
So I serviced it before we started up again. And sure enough, temperatures are wacky. I go and look at the recirc pump, because all of our valves are installed in hot water systems with recirculation. And the pump was plumbed backwards.
Wow.
So instead of pulling from the end of the mains,
Uh-huh.
it was pushing out to the end, and the temperatures were crazy because of that. So here we are, our valves outlasted 2 boiler plants, and they're blaming us for the problems, but we always get blamed first.
Yeah.
And it's just a piping problem. It's not uncommon.
So, able to fix it easily enough, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
And I just want to make sure I understand. I mean, that valve you mentioned, I think 35 years,
Yeah.
2 boiler plants.
Right.
It's outlasted 2 boilers.
Yep.
That's the same kind of tempering valve as you were making
Yes.
back in the day.
These valves are master mixing valves, so they're blending hot water. Most hot water plants generate hot water 140 or above, which is too hot to send to the showers. So the master mixing valve goes at the source, unlike the point of use valve. And there's usually 1 or 2 in a building, but they're larger. We make up to a 4-inch valve. So the valve's installed in the boiler room, and if the recirculation is not piped properly, the valve will work okay for a couple weeks or a couple months, but eventually it's going to fail because it's overheating if it's not piped right.
Okay.
So that was part of the problem there. And we see a lot of jobs like that. Whether it's my valve or somebody else's, they're just piped wrong.
So, tempering valves built to last from the sound of it.
Oh,
but
yeah.
you must have some new products. I mean, you've been around for almost 100 years.
We do
you don't
come
just
out
make
with
one thing.
Every 90 years we roll out something
Every
new.
90 years,
So
okay.
a few years ago we came out with a wireless monitor. Our Holby valve is very dependable, but it's nice to know on your phone to get a message, if the valve starts going out of range. All of these mixing valves need to be serviced occasionally. And you can either wait until your customers complain, whether it's a hotel guest or somebody in a hospital, nursing home, whatever the building is. But with a monitor, you can know 24/7 what your
You get
temperature is.
notifications if
Right.
I'm a plumber or a
Yep.
property manager.
So that's what we rolled out a few years ago, just before COVID, and we're starting to make some progress with that.
Good. Okay.
Yep.
And that was introduced, what, you said 5 years ago? Or?
No, probably just before COVID.
Oh, okay.
Actually,
So
2019, I think.
okay. So, very new.
Yep, starting to get spec'd.
Good.
And
Okay.
we're looking forward to
So,
seeing more
speaking
progress
of
with that.
COVID, I hate to bring it up, but I mean, how did the pandemic affect Holby Valve?
Well, unfortunately, when you're in manufacturing, you can't work remote.
You can't work remote.
Yeah,
No.
so we shut down for a week or two,
Uh-huh.
and then we started rotating people in. We're a pretty small operation,
Yeah.
and we had some challenges with, manpower and, of course, the supply chain issues. So some of our lead times bumped up a little bit. We're known for having everything in stock all the time. So during those times when the supply chains problems were around, we had a couple weeks lead time, maybe a couple months on some of the products, but now we're back up to full stock on everything. So it's great.
Business is
Yep.
normal as it can be.
Yep. We have over 30 reps across the country, so they love to call, and we ship the same day.
Good.
It's all pretty good.
So you got one rookie product and one 90-year-old product. Anything else coming down the pipe?
We do have. It's kind of an accessory. Since the valve is so simple, why wouldn't you have spare parts in the boiler room or in a box? So we have a little all parts box that you can mount on the wall.
Okay.
And
So
because if you have a hot water problem, the owner's going to call a plumber. The plumber will come and tell you you need new Holby parts, and he's
Right.
got to leave and come back. So
Right.
if you have a 4-inch Holby, have the parts
you have
there,
the parts right there.
and then save some time and pain when it needs to be serviced.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Although it probably doesn't need to be serviced for the sound of your
very often.
lifespan of all these things.
Not very often, no.
That parts is going to get kind of covered with dust in another 30
That's-
years.
that's fine.
But then you need it. You
And
got
when
it.
you need it, you got it. Exactly.
Well, very good. Well, anything else we can talk about with Holby? What else is happening with the company? You must be celebrating something. I know it's Well, 8 more years for our 100th anniversary, but you got to have something.
We're counting down.
Got to be thinking about that.
We're trying to do a little more with social media. You know, it's enough of a shock that this old product is now, part of the Internet of Things. Without wireless monitor, can be on the internet. But we're also launching a new page on our website that will promote through LinkedIn and social media. I mentioned the piping issues that we find all the time, so we'll have a piping diagram showing the bad installation or the existing installation,
right?
And kind of a challenge to the design engineers and the plumbers, because these guys love to look at somebody else's work and see what's wrong with it.
Yeah, critique it. Yeah.
And then it'll be, you click a link and it'll take you to our website where there'll be the before and after schematic.
Okay.
So just a little something to generate more interest and keep our
helpful
our posts.
information.
Oh,
just
absolutely.
a couple of clicks away, so easily found, I guess. Yeah.
That's
Perfect.
the plan.
Well, good.
Yep.
Well, Tom, thanks for coming.
Oh, thanks for having me.
And I appreciate it. And 8 more years, I'm going to write your 100th anniversary story.
Yeah,
I
that'd be
guess.
great.
Huh? All right, I'll still be around.
Okay. Thank you, Steve.
Thanks again.